Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, I'm taking you to the Master League where we get to take a look at an extremely rare sight, a level 50 fully maxed out shiny Jirachi taking names in the Master League. Now these battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Master Irish, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Jirachi at level 50, it's only going to get to around 3700 combat power, but it's intriguing due to its typing, allowing it to have play into both Palkia and Zacian in certain shielding scenarios. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, we see a bit of a neutral lead, leading Palkia into Groudon. Now this matchup, as opposed to the Mega Master League, is a lot more balanced, with Groudon being able to survive an Aqua Tail, but Groudon will put up an early shield. Groudon continues to overfarm, and now Palkia gets to a second Aqua Tail. That will be no shielded. Groudon has so much energy. Palkia calls the bait. That's the Precipice Blades, and down goes Palkia. Now do you bring in Lunala or send out Jirachi? In comes Jirachi. Jirachi is going to be hit with a Fire Punch. The opponent did not farm up. Jirachi will get the Confusion farm down and exit with a decent amount of energy loaded. Opponent now sends out Eternatus. Eternatus will be taking super effective damage from the Confusions. Doom Desire number 1 is going to connect. Jirachi continuing to farm, but before the second Doom Desire is reached, Eternatus will be grabbing a shield with Dynamax Cannon. Jirachi, very nice overfarm, perfect charge stack timing, throwing 2 Confusions and the move. Doom Desire into Eternatus, will pick up the KO. In the back, oh my goodness, is Dialga, and Jirachi is just taking over this game. Aura Sphere will be shielded. Jirachi is going to get to a second Aura Sphere, and let's see that damage. Aura Sphere into Dialga, big damage, and now out comes Lunala. Lunala will be able to survive a Roar of Time. Roar of Time gets full sent. Opponent needs to hope for a farm down, but they will not get there. With the Dragon Breath rework, better energy generation, but less damage, so they do not get the farm down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a Dream lead, Palkia into Ho-Oh. It's a shiny Ho-Oh as well. Opponent safe switches into Dialga, and out comes Jirachi. Jirachi, more than happy to play out this matchup. Dialga, it doesn't really matter what they throw. Iron Head, Roar of Time, it's all going to be resisted. Jirachi gets to the back-to-back Aura Spheres, and from what we've seen from the damage, it looks like Aura Sphere is able to pick up the 2-hit KO. Jirachi overfarming just a little bit more, hoping the opponent would throw the Iron Head, because Iron Head will not knock out, and now this means the Ho-Oh will actually get less farm. That's a really nicely calculated play. Opponent puts up the shield, deciding they want switch advantage, so I really love the aggressive pivot into Lunala. If you're going to lose switch advantage, may as well get an energy lead. Lunala's Shadow Ball shielded by the Ho-Oh, and Ho-Oh will fish for that Sacred Fire debuff. It's a true coin flip, a 50-50 chance. Sacred Fire does get shielded, and the debuff comes through. A bit of good luck for the opponent. Suddenly, the Shadow Ball does not have the same pressure that it typically would. Switch Clock is available, but no catch coming through. Instead, Lunala looking to double shield, as Ho-Oh will now go for the Brave Bird. Ho-Oh is heavily debuffed. Can Lunala get the farm down? It does. Oh, that was a risky farm down, but it pays off massively. In comes Dialga just to absorb energy. What do they have in the back? They have Zacian. Zacian is going to be in trouble. Even though this is a debuffed Shadow Ball, that's still valuable damage onto the Zacian. And now out comes Palkia. If this Zacian is on play rough, that's their only win condition, because they're not in a range where close combat can KO. Aqua Tail is going to connect. There's the charge attack priority die, and this has to be a play rough from the opponent, but it's not. They're running the standard moveset of Close Combat and Behemoth Blade. Neither one will KO. Palkia knocks out Zacian and is able to secure the win. Hopping into the next match, Palkia versus Palkia. Now, this is a very common sight in the Master League. There are some usage stats that the community has compiled, and I believe both Palkia and Zacian are at over 60% usage in the Master League, with no other Pokemon above 30%. So it really seems like the Master League meta is hyper-centralized around these two Pokemon. Opponent makes a really nice bait. They're now going to get the Spatial Rend on this Aqua Tail. So Master Irish is saying, you know what? I just want to get a little bit of extra chip damage, and then I'm just going to let my Palkia go. Spatial Rend lands, picking up the KO. In comes Lunala, and opponent is going to pivot and send out Groudon. I do like the idea of Groudon. I think Groudon can be a bit temperamental in the regular Master League. Obviously, in the Mega Master League, it has way more stats just because it does have coverage into both of those commonly used Pokemon. Shadow Ball will land. Lunala would love a farm down. Groudon is going to make it to a Fire Punch, but a Fire Punch, definitely not a Precipice Blades, so that's going to be fine for Lunala. In the back is Zacian, and this is looking really good for Jirachi to potentially try and close out this game. Shadow Ball lands, that's big damage. Lunala watching for the catch. There's the catch attempt. Great patience, holding on to that energy. Palkia, it's going to make a last second charge attack, just the Aqua Tail. The best part is that Aqua Tail didn't even put Jirachi into close combat range. Close combat does just about exactly 50%. So if Jirachi's not in the yellow HP, then it's not knocking out. Jirachi, after these Metal Claws, should finally get KO'd, but Lunala has the charge attack loaded. Opponent needed to get a double up, and they just didn't have enough energy. Shadow Ball picks up the knockout and secures the win. Palkia leads into Zacian in the next match, but there's an immediate switch out. Lunala, even with the one-turn switch, will still outpace, getting to the Shadow Ball one turn before that Behemoth Blade is ready. Shadow Ball is shielded by the Zacian. Zacian massively overfarms. Behemoth Blade will do massive damage in return to this Lunala, so Lunala will shield right back. Lunala not overfarming, just wanting to get damage onto the Zacian, because if Zacian actually takes damage, then hopefully that'll free up Palkia. But the opponent says no, they're playing this out to the 2-shield. Lunala has taken quite a lot of damage from the Metal Claws. Will the opponent try for a catch? There is the catch attempt, and they send out Zamazenta. Zamazenta, these Ice Fangs not doing much into Jirachi. Jirachi will get to hit for super effective damage with Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere lands. These Confusions hitting for neutral as well. If the opponent wants to deal meaningful damage, they have to go for the close combat. But then, obviously, they have now lowered their defense. Aura Sphere will easily pick up the KO. The opponent could look to bring back in the Zacian. They're running ABA Dog with the Zacian lead, Zamazenta in the back. I'm curious what their third is going to be, and it's revealed to be Lugia. Lugia looking maybe to farm down. These Dragon Tails do not do much to the Jirachi. Doom Desire will connect. Quick switch into Lunala, and there is the combo play. You'll love the aggressive play style. Big damage onto Lugia. Lugia will get to take the knockout with the fly, but it's too little too late. The damage has been done. Lugia's value is in its bulk, and unfortunately, it just lost almost its entire health bar. In comes Palkia, winning charge attack priority over Lugia, denying that Arrow Blast. The opponent does have a ton of energy stored on the Zacian, but they know this is not anywhere close to close combat range, so they will concede the match. We move to the next match, leading Palkia into Dawnwing's Necrozma. Dawnwings, one of my favorite Master League Pokemon. Dawnwings only built up to 8. I guess if they're running Outrage, this could be a problem, but they are not. It's just going to be the Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse does get no-shielded by Palkia, so the opponent may have just wanted to try and lock in some damage before they got KO'd, and that's exactly what they were going to do. In comes Zekrom. Zekrom will not get the farm down before the Spatial Rend is ready. I'm just unused to how fast Palkia gets to moves, my goodness. I guess I didn't play the Mega Master League, where obviously Palkia was everywhere, but I haven't played the Master League itself since the triple rotation started, so it is a bit of whiplash to see how quickly Palkia is spamming out these Spatial Rends. The full set Moonblast does get shielded. The opponent did not go for a crunch, so I assume they do not have it. The no shield calling that it's just a Fusion Bolt, and it is. Fusion Bolt will not be enough to set up a farm down as the Shadow Ball is reached. Shadow Ball knocks out the Zekrom, and in the back is going to be Groudon. Groudon, obviously Precipice Blades would be a big problem, but the Dragon Tails are going to be resisted. Doom Desire will connect. Groudon throwing on good charge attack timing. Jirachi puts up the shield, but ends up shielding a bait. Can Jirachi outpace? It's going to be close, and Jirachi does outpace, getting to that Doom Desire. Doom Desire knocks out the Groudon, and Jirachi is able to secure that game. Hopping into the next match, Palkia into Groudon. So Groudon, a bit more common than I was initially expecting. Safe switch into Palkia, answered with the Jirachi, stayed in a little bit in the Palkia mirror to get a little bit of Dragon Breath damage, and now in comes the Jirachi to go for the Aura Sphere, but the opponent says no, denying that with a shield. Jirachi, more than happy to no shield, as Aqua Tail is not going to be able to two-shot. So if Jirachi wants, and it does want, it can let this go and make it to the Aura Sphere. So Jirachi will now get to put pressure on that final shield. Palkia should be able to survive the Aura Sphere, but not super well. So Palkia can hang on. Palkia, last second charge attack. Jirachi will put up the shield. Will that confusion that snuck pick up the knockout? It does, and Jirachi wins alignment. Back in comes the Groudon. Very nice charge attack timing once again, throwing 2 confusions and the move. Doom Desire lands onto the Groudon. Aggressive pivot into Lunala. Opponent fires off this Precipice Blades instantly. Lunala shields. It is the full sent Precipice Blades. The opponent, if they want to, they can shield and outpace the Lunala. So they will be able to get to the Precipice Blades and land it if they want, but they decide no. Instead, they're leaving it all up to Zekrom. Zekrom, if they have Crunch, this is one-shotting. It's double super effective. But they don't. It's Fusion Bolt. Lunala hangs on. Lunala will get to force the final shield with Moonblast, and then it's going to be a race to the move, but there's residual energy on the Palkia. Palkia stayed in at the start of the match, and that residual energy is game-winning. Spatial Ren knocks out the Zekrom, and that's a good game. Palkia versus Zacian, a very familiar lead. As before, immediate save switch into Lunala, and if the opponent stays in to try and get that Behemoth Blade, we know they're getting outpaced. There's not a lot of ghost resists in this meta, so it's not like the opponent has a really safe Pokemon that they can typically send in. So instead, this is going to play out much like the previous Zacian lead, with the opponent staying in, but they close combat bait to get the shield, and then send out Eternatus. That's a risky bait from the opponent, but it does pay off as they're able to save some extra energy. In comes Eternatus, but Eternatus gets the Dynamax Cannon caught on Jirachi, and we're off to a roaring start. Eternatus unfortunately wins charge attack priority over that Jirachi. Jirachi gets hit with the Dynamax Cannon, so Jirachi could have got the farm down. Was worried the opponent would try and commit to getting to the Flamethrower, but they didn't, so it ends up being a CMP tie. The opponent did save energy on that Zacian, but they're not going to bring it in. Instead, they're sending in Palkia. Palkia immediately hit with the Aura Sphere. Quick switch into Lunala. Lunala trying to get to the Shadow Ball. If this is the Spatial Rend, it will be enough to take the knockout, but it's not. It's the Aqua Tail. It doesn't KO, and now they have to decide where do they want the final shield. They want the final shield on the Zacian. Zacian gets the farm down, but Palkia's HP being at full is again going to be a very big problem for the opponent. But for now, in comes Jirachi. Jirachi just trying to get this Zacian into Aqua Tail range. Zacian, Behemoth Blades, they can't afford to lower their defense, but they're also in trouble because they can't do any damage unless they do lower their defense with the close combat. So Palkia puts up the shield. There's the close combat, now immediately followed up by the Aqua Tail, and there's just no way out for the opponent as they will put up the shield, but Zacian gets to the Aqua Tail, and preserving your Palkia as healthy as possible seems to be a winning recipe so far in the early days of this Master League, because being outside of close combat range makes that Zacian matchup so much different. Great lead in the next match. Palkia into Solgaleo. Solgaleo, before it can even get to a Psychic Fangs, the Aqua Tail locked and loaded, and will connect for some valuable chip damage. In comes Kyurem White. Kyurem White answered with the Jirachi, but Fusion Flare will hit for massive super effective damage. Doom Desire will also connect, hitting for super effective damage. Will Jirachi go for a shield and a farm down? It looks like yes. Jirachi gonna be shielding up, looking for the farm down, but Kyurem White is so fast now with the reworked Dragon Breath, getting to another Fusion Flare. Jirachi barely hangs on, will fire off the last second Aura Sphere, but man, the speed on Kyurem White is crazy. In the back is Zygarde, and this is going to be a really difficult game to win. In comes Palkia. Palkia, so fast to get the charge moves, but Zygarde is now a lot faster as well with the rework to Dragon Tail. The Aqua Tail bait is successful, and my goodness, Dragon Breaths really do nothing in this matchup now. Zygarde tanking that very comfortably. Spatial Rend will be double shielded as all shields go down. Quick switch into Lunala. If the opponent's on crunch, this could be devastating, but no, it ends up being an outrage catch. Moonblast will be connecting for super effective damage if the opponent decides to stay in. They go for another outrage. Lunala now deep into the red. Lunala had the Moonblast, unfortunately settled for the Shadow Ball. Moonblast probably could have taken the knockout. Zygarde forced to throw. Zygarde still not switching out. They stay in. Instead of banking the energy, they just throw the Outrage, and now in comes Palkia. Back in comes the Solgaleo. Solgaleo has a bunch of residual energy. They banked a Psychic Fangs before switching, so now it's going to be a race. Solgaleo needs to get to the second Psychic Fangs before Palkia can get the Aqua Tail. Palkia gets to the Aqua Tail, but it's one turn too slow. The Psychic Fangs is ready. Solgaleo takes the knockout, and unfortunately, that will be a loss. Hopping into the final match, picking up a pretty solid lead, Palkia into Groudon. Groudon going to stay in, but they are going to be at a pretty significant pacing disadvantage. They save switch a Shadow Kyogre, and that's just something you can never do. The Kyogre would have had great play in the back. They could have stayed in, played it out with the Groudon, got the Palkia low, but instead they switch a Kyogre into a Palkia, which is the equivalent of, I guess the Great League version of it would be sending your Talonflame into a lead Bastiodon. There's just no play there. So now they've lost alignment. They have lost their entire Kyogre. They bring in their Palkia, which would have been a far better option to send in, although they would have had to switch it in instantly just to get one shot, and it's all just going wrong. I was gonna say, I don't know if they're doing a no shield challenge, but they did use a shield already. Fire Punch from the Groudon into Jirachi, and Jirachi will immediately undertap the Doom Desire. Doom Desire lands, each confusion getting Groudon closer and closer to getting KO'd. Jirachi no shield, saying Fire Punch will not be enough to knock out. Jirachi hangs on, makes a last second Doom Desire, but decides to show the third. In comes Lunala. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. All in all, despite the fact that it has a significantly lower combat power than almost any other Master League Pokemon, I actually feel like I leave these battles a little bit impressed with Jirachi. Jirachi ended up having a lot more bulk than I was expecting, and its combination of coverage and typing actually put it in a really decent anti-meta spot in this meta. Now, obviously, with Zacian having so much more stat product, Zacian can potentially pull out wins. I believe Zacian can win in the zeros, and versus Palkia, Palkia has win cons. I believe Palkia takes home the win in the ones. So they're not clear and cut matchups into either Palkia or Zacian, but it's probably one of the closest things we have to a core breaker for Zacian Palkia, and considering that core is the literal entire Master League meta right now with how extremely powerful both of those are, I think something like Jirachi has really interesting anti-meta play. Now, would I recommend everyone go out and max their Jirachis and take it to the Master League? It's a massive investment. I oftentimes don't like making recommendations that people use their rare XLs, but for those who already have a Jirachi maxed, it honestly put in a surprising amount of work in these battles. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our channel members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.